Yeah, all right, here we go.
Welcome to Off the Cut.
Dude, I haven't touched any wood in a long time.
I want to put my face in that grass.
Or you're trying to make eye contact with a person.
And that's an example of it works.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad we got the explicit out of the way early.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Off the Cut episode 141. A little pre or post Thanksgiving, depending on when you listen to it, for Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. And we told you guys last week, but we're going to remind you again. kmtools.com is having an insane, some people might call it the biggest Black Friday sale for woodworkers on the internet.
I would argue that their discounts are too steep. Jonathan is for sure losing money.
I don't really need anything right now, but I poked around on there and I was like, dude, these are definitely loss leaders.
Yeah. I mean, all of his stuff is aggressively marked down. The bourbon blade's even on sale. You get yourself like basically $50 off. I'm trying to do quick math in my head, but yeah, close to $50 off the bourbon blade already. It's been out for like a week.
And they have huge prizes. The number one prize includes actually getting an all expenses paid trip directly to Santa Barbara, and you get to hang out with Jonathan. How sweet is that?
Yeah, he's actually invited me out there a couple times, and I haven't had an opportunity.
Weird flex.
Up on it. No, he's just a nice guy, and he's like, yeah. But I have really wanted to go out and check out his facility because I think any woodworker or maker would be seriously impressed by it. It's like CNCs, it's a whole production setup and also a big woodworking shop in the same building, and also like a film studio too. I think that trip is severely underrated.
Yeah. So while you're saving huge amounts of money with that Cam Tools Black Friday sale, also know that a portion of all of the sales go directly towards the Katz Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund, which gets the tools and resources into the hands of folks who need it most. And if you want to save even more money on top of Jonathan's already too low prices, every single month he gives away a $50 gift card to Cam Tools. All that you got to do is go over to patreon.com/offthecutpodcasts, sign up for any tier level, and you're automatically entered to win. And they also have a huge stock of Boss Dog glue.
I was going to say, I think $50 would buy a lot of Boss Dog.
Yeah, it sure would. But before I go any further, I want to actually turn things over to Deric right now because he has a special announcement for this evening.
That's right. Today we have with us our guest, Nick Starrett from Boss Dog Wood Glue. Nick is he's a maker. He's been on YouTube and Instagram and all that for a number of years, making and creating with all of us. Well, he was dissatisfied with wood glues on the market, and instead of just complaining about it, this one takes too long and this one's the wrong color and this one tastes like rotten bananas, Nick learned all that he could about wood glue sciences and developed the ideal and perfect wood glues. Launched it back in January of this last year. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So I thought it'd be great to have him on and talk about, maybe running the business or starting a business or, doing that as well as like the content creation, because you're still creating content, I see.
Yep.
Pretty regularly.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on, by the way, guys. I love your all show. This is awesome to be here. So.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you for
sure. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more, like how did... So Deric had mentioned that I don't know the backstory. So Deric had mentioned you were dissatisfied with current wood glues on the market and you wanted to make your own. Like, do you have a chemistry background or like?
No.
How did you get into this?
So I've been a full-time woodworker for almost 10 years now. I built custom cabinets, dining room tables, entertainment centers, a lot of local builds for local clientele. And I've used just about every glue that is out there. And I found that I liked different aspects of different glues, viscosity, open time, strength, color, and they weren't in the same bottle. So my goal was, first I was wondering if it was possible even to come up with a glue because I haven't really heard of anybody that has. So I did a lot of research, the old Google and YouTube, and I found out really quickly that I wasn't able to like cook it in my kitchen and brew it up and pour it right on in the kitchen. So I did a little more research and found a local adhesive manufacturer that specializes in custom formulas. So you work directly with them and their chemist, and they've been around since 1988. So I teamed up with them, and it took about a year to test and go back and forth and try out different formulas until we got exactly what we wanted. And then in January, we launched our first tan colored wood glue.
Wow. Okay, so that's an interesting process that I would have suspected. So you work with their chemist to design your product?
Yeah, so I work with their team and go back and forth with their chemist. So I'll put in and say, like in the beginning, I told them exactly what I wanted. They made it, sent me a sample. I tested it in the shop for a few weeks and feedback, tell them what I wanted to change about it until we kind of got it narrowed out exactly what I wanted.
So how many cycles of revisions did you do with them?
Probably close to a dozen. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Just small little tweaks. Viscosity, color. Color was a big thing for me in the beginning because I wanted something that stood out different from what was already there. I didn't want a yellow glue that left a yellow hue. So the tan dry color to me blended in better with pretty much any species of wood that you might use on a day-to-day basis in the normal wood shop, in your garage, in your workshop, in your house, or even if you're a cabinet maker or full-time woodworker.
And is that as simple as just adding different coloring agents to it, or are you actually like changing the formula a little bit?
You're not so much changing the formula, but yeah, you have to be careful because adding things changes stuff. So that's what took a while to narrow that out.
To get that right. Okay.
Yep.
So you started with the tan. I see you got the clear now, and you also have a dark brown as well?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So we started with the tan, and probably a few months after that, we launched the clear dry, which it goes on white and dries crystal clear. It's actually turned into be our bestseller on Amazon, on our website, all around. It's awesome. And then our brown is like a walnut color. So any of your dark woods that you like, walnut cutting boards, it's perfect for that. Mahogany. And all three are FDA compliant, so they can all three be used on cutting boards.
Okay. What about water resistance?
So we're not fully waterproof, so we don't recommend for like exterior use. We don't want to be left out in the elements. We're considered moisture resistant, so we can withstand like the washing on the cutting boards and all that normal stuff that you would go through.
Okay.
Right.
I see a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
So would you say your most equivalent glue is probably like a Type Bond 2 or something?
It's hard because I tried to if you were going to go for open time, viscosity is kind of closer to the Type Bond 3, but your water resistance and all that and your open time are closer to 2. Yeah.
Okay.
I always see these glue companies advertising that their product is waterproof. But wood itself is like, it's, like if you glue together a tabletop and leave it outside, it's like, it's not the glue joints I'm worried about. It's like this thing is going to cup, it's going to warp, it's going to go crazy, right?
Right.
So
I don't see, I kind of stay away from that subject a little bit because I probably won't ever put the word waterproof on my glue just because.
I don't think it's. I think it's kind of neither here nor there. It's like if you're using wood glue and expecting it to last outside, like that's, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a reasonable request. Yeah, exactly. So that's why
can't expect to use the same thing on a cutting board and a boat.
Right.
Well, exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So is there some sort of like additive that you would have to put in it that would then make it not food safe?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. To be short with that. Yeah. There's different additives that change those chemical makeups and change the FDA compliance.
Gotcha.
So you met with an adhesive company, you talk with the chemist, you develop your own formula. Now what? Are you just walk me through I'm genuinely super curious.
Yeah,
How does somebody
show up with a tanker full of white glue?
No, seriously. Do you get like Zach said, you get a tanker of glue, and then they're like, all right, Nick, fill her up.
I actually got my own tanker truck parked out back. It's an old gas truck, but No, luckily they're one of their locations. They've got, I think, 6 across the country, but one of them is about 30 minutes up the road from me. So I can order I can order as small as a 5-gallon pail, but that would not help anything. I get them by the 55-gallon drum. And this week I picked up 5 drums from them. So restocking for Black Friday and all that.
Yeah.
Right on.
So you're moving pretty good volume of that stuff then.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a process, but I love it, to be honest. It's awesome.
So you do all the bottling yourself?
Yes, so I do still bottle right now I'm in my workshop. It's about 900 square feet, and I've sectioned off about 300 for the glue company. And it's really tight in there now. And I've got two bottling machines, and each of them can bottle 2 bottles at a time in about 5 seconds. So two bottles in 5 seconds, and just pump them down the line. So
pushing that glue through there.
And so employees? Sorry, Zach.
No, go ahead. Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you have employees yet, or are you doing it all yourself, or like family?
I have had employees. They have kind of come and go. They've been family friends, and they've helped for a few weeks. My brother has helped me for a few weeks, but most of the time I'll do my normal content creating during the day, woodworking stuff, go eat dinner, do the family stuff, and then I'll come out at night and work till I don't know. It just depends on what time my wife texts me and tells me I got to come back to the house.
Right.
But usually around night, I'll work till.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. So, I mean, I guess that kind of leads us into the next topic. Like, what's it like trying to balance the product business, but then also the content creation business?
Yeah, that was definitely not something I took into account. There's a lot of things I didn't take into account when I was like, I'm going to make my own wood glue. And it's going to be awesome. I didn't take into account the marketing, everything that goes into it, and then taking away from the content creating. Luckily, I can make most of my own content, but yeah, it's definitely a juggling act now. But it was before as well when I was doing full-time furniture making and content creating.
For sure.
And most content creators do content creation on the side of their full-time job. You're doing a full-time job on the side of your content creation.
Right. Yeah. And content creation turned into my full-time job. Yeah.
Right.
Scale back on like the custom furniture projects for clients in order to make bandwidth for the other two, or? Sure.
I've actually totally stopped taking on client orders. About 2 months ago was my last one. So it's just content and glue now. So.
Well, congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I figured I could always go back to building furniture if I had to. So
yes. Yeah. I mean, the demand's always going to be there. You don't forget the skills. So
right.
Yeah.
What was the scariest or like most like uncertain part about starting the whole company? Like, did you have one of these things where you're like, okay, I'm going to shut down taking custom orders. I really hope I can like stay afloat during this period. Like, I think this is a lot of stuff that people don't talk about. They're just like, wow, I started a company, crazy. But like, I'm curious about the struggles. Like, what was like the hard part? So
the shutting down on the orders for custom clients wasn't that scary for me because I kind of wanted to move that way as I was growing my content creating business. So I wanted to kind of break away from that. But most of my furniture builds were my content. So now I have to kind of build projects and map them out and plan them a little more. But the scary part, getting back to that, was the actual telling people what I was doing. Like actually launching the product was the scary part. Like I didn't know how people would take it and how they would receive it. And so that was a little scary for me.
Did you mean
go ahead, Zach, sorry.
When you say that, do you mean like family and friends, or do you mean like your audience online?
Yeah, audience, the community, the woodworking community, just because everybody, the big brand that's out there has been there for a long time, and there's been a very loyal following towards that. So breaking into that, I didn't know. I sent out a few samples beforehand, and people gave me feedback, but I didn't introduce it to the masses. So I didn't know how it was going to be perceived, but it's been great. It's been an awesome time. I've had so much support from the woodworking community. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think everybody loves to see a creator step up to the plate and get their own product out there, right? Like it's inspirational.
Yeah.
So how soon after launching the glue company did you meet Jonathan and you guys were like, we got a partner on this. This is going to be great. Was that relatively recently?
It was actually sooner from the launch than you would think, because I launched in January and I knew him, but I met him in person at Workbench Con.
Right.
So that was end of February or was it early March? I can't remember. So it was like a month and a half, 2 months max from launching to talking to him. Heath Abramson actually introduced me to him. Hey, you should talk. And he's like, I've seen your glue. I want to test it out. Send me some samples. So I did. And he liked them and placed an order about a couple weeks after that.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It's awesome. Right. Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah. So is he one of your primary distributors?
Yes. For online specifically, I've got a couple other online distributors that are tool brands and other industry online businesses, but he's probably the largest one. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, what's it like going up? Because you kind of alluded to this. There's the big competitor in the space.
Yeah.
And they do have this loyal audience. So, I mean, like, what are some of the challenges you faced with that?
I guess just earning people's trust to try it, just to try it out, because they're so loyal, and I don't blame them for it. I mean, they're great products already, so why would you switch? So that's the hard part, is breaking through with just making sure that they know that I'm from the same community as you. I'm a woodworker. I'm offering another option that's in this field that kind of does a few things differently from what you're used to. So that was kind of the harder part of that. And I'm still doing that every time I talk to somebody. So that part probably won't change for a long time. Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. So what would you say sets your product apart? Is it the color? Is it, you talked about so many different things, from viscosity to open time, and Yeah.
So I guess a combination of compiling all of those attributes into one glue. But the color is one of the big things that does set us apart, because we've got our tan version, our dark brown. Our dark brown version is the only FDA compliant, like dark brown PVA glue on the market.
Oh,
there are other ones, but the dyes that they use don't allow them to be used technically on cutting boards to get that dark brown color. So that our colors are our big set apart. Is that a word? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And then another thing is our twist top. Give me one second. That. Hold on 1 second.
No, you're good. You're good. That's the one thing I was curious about, because all of us have used that. We know what brand we're talking about. Where you have that it pops out, and you're like, okay, the cap's open, and then you go to squeeze it, and you can't get anything out there, and it's infuriating. And then you take your thumbnail and try to get under it, and that rock hard glue slips under your thumbnail, and now you're bleeding everywhere, and it's infuriating. Right,
banging it on the counter. You're doing whatever you can. Yeah, people make things on their 3D printers to open their glue bottles. Like that shouldn't be a thing. But
right out with the flathead.
So we got our easy open twist top. So the twisting motion allows it not to like glue itself shut when you twist it open. So it breaks it immediately. But another cool thing about it is it allows you to control the amount of glue that flows out by how much you open it. So you don't have like so if you have like a really tiny small bead you want to run, you just kind of barely crack that open, and you can kind of control and not waste so much glue. So that's another big set apart from them.
So is that something you designed, or is that like an off-the-shelf design that you found and you're like, oh, this works great here?
Yeah, it was something that's already in existence. You'd see them on condiment bottles, similar, or your old school
mustard bottles,
Elmer's glue and mustard bottles.
Yeah.
The twisting,
the twisting people like them.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was the point of it. I mean, it's such a simple solution that I went right past it.
And the one where you pull it off, there's no way you can effectively gauge like how open or closed it is, because you're yanking with all your force just to get it open in the first place.
And then you don't want to close it. You don't want to close it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I dig it. This is impressive. I've seen Boss Dog glue around and stuff. I was like, okay, sweet, right on. But like even just small things like the bottle design, I'm like,
Right.
done. Already,
Yeah.
you won me over.
Oh, I'm
So I
gonna
was
get you
using
some
the
of
old
that.
mustard bottle until I got your bottle, and then I'm like, this is perfect. This is what I'm gonna use from now on.
Cool.
I used to use a Sriracha bottle. I would empty it out, but then that bottle was like it wasn't like it was so rigid that once you would like squeeze it, it would stay crushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a bummer.
Yeah, everybody's got their own bottles that they use, other than the one that it comes in. So
That's a problem.
right.
Right. And it blows my mind that nobody notices that. So like what's your marketing strategy been for this? I noticed that you have a pretty good social media presence and whatnot. Has that been like social media driven? Like let's just get this out into the hands of people who actually are going to use this stuff?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously I don't have the huge marketing budget that some of the other companies do. Right. So I have to kind of use what I have, and social media, luckily it was my route of talking to people in the first place. So it's been a great avenue just to get it out there, and fast too, because people see it and they share it. And
for sure.
Yeah. And
do you feel,
go ahead.
I was going to say, do you feel pressure now in every piece of content you do? Does like every YouTube video you do have to have glue in it in order to be like a pluggable moment kind of thing?
So you mean like on my regular woodworking page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like on your...
I told people from the beginning, I'm not going to try to like overwhelm you all day with glue stuff. So I try to scale it back a little bit and not do every video based on glue, but I do try to put it in there as much as I can. I mean, kind of would be dumb not to, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
I mean, honestly, if I were in your shoes, I would just make my channel like the glue channel. I would be like testing glues all day long and just constantly crapping on the competitors.
See, I can't do that.
I know. I'm just kidding.
So what do you have?
Integrity for that.
Do you have any?
Suman on that.
I know.
Yeah, really. That's you should get him to do some testing for you.
Yeah,
pay him all. Okay. Be like,
he's got plans. No, actually, I did reach out to him to send him some, but he wants to make it fair and do his own thing. So when he's ready, he's gonna do his own test on it.
I know Suman. You could buy him. For not that much money.
I was gonna say I don't think I can afford him, but
you can pay off Suman. That's easy. He's a lightweight when
he's gonna see this and send me a message, and he's gonna give me a bad review now.
So
do you have?
Go ahead, Deric.
I was gonna say, do you have any plans for? Yeah, you recently expanded into the CA glue market. Do you have any other plans for further expansion?
Yeah, honestly, yes, I do. For this year, we'll probably stick with what we have. I mean, it's already the holiday season, so it's already crazy busy. I do have. I'm going to add some different sizes. Like a 16-ounce CA glue has been a big request for, especially in our black color in large bottles. So we'll have a bottle similar to that in size.
Who the hell's using that much CA glue?
I go through a lot of CA glue.
Okay.
I've had a number of messages that they tell me that they go through cases of the stuff. I'm like, okay, well, we'll stock some and see how it goes.
You know, like when I was doing a lot of trim carpentry back in the day, we would CA glue like every single it was just temporarily to hold it in position while you nail it to the actual stud wall. But we would go through a ton of CA glue.
That's fair.
And the black tinted CA glue, a lot of people like to use them for like knot filling on their tabletops and stuff. So I mean, you go through a lot if you've got a number of knots on one top.
Big old knot.
Valid.
Yeah, true.
Valid. So somebody who's gotten really into the glue industry and whatnot, I want to express some issues I've had in the past and see if it's user error or product
user error.
I'm sure it's user error. Okay. CA glue. You get a new bottle, take the top off, you use it, you're like, this is great. Put the top back on. Next time you go to use it, you can't get the damn cap off.
Right.
Yeah,
is that a bottle design or like did I not let it flow back in or?
It's kind of so super glue is bad. CA glue sticks to everything. So including plastic. And plastic is what the caps are made out of.
Yeah.
We do have a pin. You probably can't see it, but a pin in our cap that
Oh.
that
Punctures
kind
the
of
back end.
punctures it. So when you do unscrew it, it pulls out whatever's in there.
Okay.
But if you do let it spill over and overflow into the actual threads, it's gonna stick. It's just plastic.
Yeah.
So I've actually like had ideas of how can we change that and add a different cap, but the only thing I could come up with is like a silicone cap, and that wouldn't work for that. It'd be too flimsy and flexible. And
Right. I mean, I think what a lot of manufacturers do is they just give you like 10 tips with the
Yeah.
bottle, right?
right.
And it's not a perfect solution, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really
I
do
imagine
think
a
that the
stainless
little
steel one would be
pin really
expensive.
does. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially on high numbers that you'd be putting out.
Yeah.
So the other thing I've seen on CA glue is people recommend putting it in the refrigerator.
I've seen that too.
What's the credence behind that? Do you have any
good
idea?
question.
I've never heard
To be
that.
honest, I don't know. I've never done that. They say that it helps preserve it and make it last longer. To be honest, I don't know. I can't give you an answer on that.
My parents used to do that as a kid. I remember having like a little squeeze, like little dropper bottle of super glue in the freezer at all times throughout my entire childhood. And I have
They
no
put their-
idea why.
Their batteries and their film in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We used to have our battery. I was wondering why batteries were in the freezer. I was like, I don't understand.
Long past the
Might just be like an
expiration
old
date.
wives' tale that got out of control.
That's what I'm thinking, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, there's another good like myth busting video there.
Yeah. For sure.
So, as someone who's just got a shop that has climate control, before it would get up to like 110 in the summer and it would get single digits or below in the winter, right? Does leaving glue in extreme temperatures actually affect anything?
The heat, not as much. Freezing does.
Interesting. Okay.
Even on your normal glues, if you go on like their SDF sheets online, they'll actually tell you on the other brands, because I've looked, it'll tell you like it can freeze this many times, but freezing does break down the chemical compounds. So they're basically,
Crystallization.
yes, they're rubberized polymers that are basically it's plastic. They're polymers, and the freezing and the crystallization messes with the chemistry of it. So they do tell you can use it, freeze them a few times, but I don't recommend freezing ever, really.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and
Is
then
there
there's
like a limit to that? Like if it froze briefly and then
Yeah,
you thawed
you would
it
just
right
have
away,
to-
or
you would have to check it. You would know
Yeah.
if it wasn't going to work properly. It would be all gloppy, and there's
okay.
actually another thing with glue, and you can read it on pretty much every bottle. It's called a chalk temperature. So
Oh.
ours is 55 degrees. What it does is if it's too cold and you apply the glue to, say, the wood or the whatever you're gluing up, the wood, obviously, in our case, chalk temperature basically doesn't allow the polymers to bind properly, and you'll get like a chalky filament when the glue dries and won't stick properly.
okay.
So
Very
most glues are between 40 and 60 degrees as their chalk temperature.
Okay. Now, kind of a related question. I love to save my scraps and then throw them in the fire pit in the backyard. Do I need to worry about burning PVA? Like, is it like, I mean, it's not great to inhale smoke in general, but is there any extra risk with PVA glue?
No, there's not. Especially ours are non-toxic. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not even going to say you can drink it because people make jokes about it all the time. You don't drink it or eat it. But no, I mean, I do that too. The same thing. I have a pile of scrap that I keep that I think I'm going to use, and then 6 months later, I'm like, this pile is too big. I've got to burn it now. So
Yeah.
We're all
It's like I would maybe with like an epoxy or polyurethane glue, I wouldn't do it. But I've always thought like PVA, it's like it's like I don't know if you can put it on a cutting board and then eat off the cutting board. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. That will win me some future arguments with my safety conscious friends.
Well, I wouldn't be like pouring a 5-gallon bucket of glue on the fire either. So
Yeah, fair enough.
Not a good way
So-
to put it out.
Our buddy John from Biscuit Tree Woodworks has a question.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
This is a good one. He wants to know, do you prefer cleaning up squeeze out with a little bit of water, or do you let it dry a bit and scrape it off with a paint scraper or chisel or whatnot?
Okay. It depends on what I'm gluing up. So if it's a tabletop, see, you know what? I do both. I've done both.
I'm the same way.
Because sometimes we do have our own silicone glue brush that has a flat end on it. So I have let it go just to use that scraper end to test it. But most of the time, I think my go-to is a wet rag and wipe it off, especially because our glue doesn't leave a yellow tint. So I don't know if that makes
you don't have to worry about it staining.
Yeah. And
that's always been my go-to. So I feel vindicated now. Much like my fire question.
So I think, is he talking about like the let it fully dry, or did he say like partially? Then you just kind of
the partially drying thing.
Okay.
I don't know anybody that wants to let it go fully dry and then try and scrape it off.
People do for video, so you can like run the scraper.
Oh
or
yeah,
the chisel
or pops.
Yeah, but
sure.
Nobody.
Or your bourbon blade.
No
sensible.
There you go. Available at camtools.com. But no one sensible person actually waits till the glue dries. You like let it gum up a little bit. And then
I swear there's like a 10-minute window where it's actually easy to scrape it up, but I always seem to miss that, and it's like it's rock hard. So I always just go with a rag.
You know what? Zach and I we've talked. I feel like this was a while ago, or maybe Deric, you brought it up. We have a conspiracy that all these glues say they have different open times. What does the open time actually mean? Like,
and so the problem with open time too is it can differ depending on the environment you're gluing in, the heat, the humidity, but the thickness. So an open time is basically how long you have to work with the glue before you have to kind of leave it alone.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Your open time is before you leave it alone. So ours is 10 to 15 minutes.
So pretty quick.
Wow.
Great. Like a lot of other ones are 20, 30, right?
Yeah, like your number 3 would be closer to 20, 30, I think.
Yeah.
Ours is closer to your 2 that you would normally see.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a little that one caught me a little off guard the first time I used your glue, is that it started gumming up a little quicker than I was used to.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, I got to move a little faster with this one.
I actually was testing a fast dry glue, which was like, I think 4 minutes it started going. I was like, this would work good for some stuff, but like it was fast. Like I glue it up. I go to get my phone and get a few other things to film, and I'm like, it's already starting to cure. So,
and does like a shorter open time mean a shorter cure time?
No, it doesn't. Not on that one at least.
Okay.
Yeah, it was still like we would still recommend let it sit for 24 hours and before you actually stress the joint.
Okay.
But it does work
off sooner.
Yeah. So that's where you would benefit. You can remove your clamps a lot faster, so you can move on to the next glue up.
Okay. So would open time and like clamp off time kind of be similar, or
30 minutes? We recommend clamping for at least 30 minutes. That's like minimum. I would say longer if you can.
Okay, so maybe take the open time and then double it or triple it.
Yeah, so you got your open.
If it's a linear relationship.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so our total assembly or open time is 10 to 15 minutes. Then we recommend at least 30 minutes of clamp time after that.
Yeah. So for that, but for like a short, like a glue with an open time of 5 minutes, would you then only have to clamp it for 10 minutes, and then you could?
Yeah. So you would have less of a clamp time because curing faster.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, I got confused myself in my brain there for a minute.
No, you're good. I feel like we're just hammering you with questions.
Yeah, we're grilling you, man. You're doing a great job.
When I saw Deric at the Texas Woodworking Festival, I don't know if he saw, like, the people were just all piling in. So I kind of got used to the question after question from different places. And I was really nervous about that. That was my first show. I've gone to shows a number of times, but I've never like been the person explaining things. So
Oh,
Yeah.
you couldn't tell. You did a great job.
and I feel like I'm not a social person in person, but I don't know. I don't know.
Show me a
what it
woodworker
feels
who
like.
is.
Right.
Three of us
I feel like
people that just go up to random people and we're like, "Hey, I'm Eric. Nice to meet
but then
you."
we-
Like,
but,
I'm only
but
going
then
to be
we all
spoken to.
that's exactly how it is. And then but we'll all film ourselves and put ourselves online and
Right,
voice
right,
over.
Right now, right? Yeah.
But
it's crazy.
don't come up to me at Lowe's and try to ask me a question.
I had somebody come up to me at the gym the other day, and I had my headphones in or whatever. I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm good. Like you can use that or whatever." And then he like kept talking, and I'm just like, "No, like you're good, you're good." And he's like, "Do I know you?" And it went through that thing. So I felt so bad. I was, dude, I'm so sorry. I just assumed that somebody was just asking me if I was like using this thing. I'm not a super social person. Like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of quiet. But
Yeah.
it's really weird because, like you said, we put ourselves online, and everybody just assumes that we're the most outgoing, social, extroverted people in the world. But by and large, I feel like woodworkers are pretty much introverts.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that for sure. Yeah.
I think there's like you can maybe even say that about most YouTubers, I think. Because it is a very, at the end of the day, it's like kind of a very solitary thing. Like you're just alone in your workshop with a camera.
Right.
Hoping somebody watches.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Don't nobody walk in while I'm filming, or I'm gonna get embarrassed.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's the worst when you're like doing a spot where you're talking to the camera and then like the mailman comes by and you go straight up and you're like,
Yeah.
I gotta wait till they pass. So Nick, how long have you been doing? I know you stopped taking on commissions and stuff like that. How long had you been building furniture?
Almost 10 years.
Professional.
Yeah, almost 10 years
10 years?
full time.
Wow.
So it was
that like your first, like adult job or whatever? Did you have a corporate job beforehand?
I did. Yeah. So I went to college. I did all of that stuff. Graduated. I worked at a paper mill for a while, like on the assembly line.
Yeah.
And then I got a corporate job where I was a sales associate. Inside sales is what they called me. But I worked in a cubicle and I was on a computer all day and I didn't have a window. And that's kind of what led me into woodworking. So woodworking was my little hobby outlet, just like everybody else that has to have a little outlet to escape from the job. But then it just did really well and it kept building and I quit the regular job and went full-time woodworking.
So how long from like when you started, the hobby to you were able to blow things up and go full-time woodworking? Like how long was that?
Yeah.
It wasn't very long, to be honest, mainly because I really wanted to get out of the job. It was giving me a lot of stress and anxiety and right. I was having panic attacks in my cubicle for no reason. Like I'm working on a computer. So as soon as I had enough like confidence that I could kind of keep up with the bills, I was like, I'm out of here.
Oh, dude, I don't blame you. It's miserable.
Right. And that's just
being in a job like that.
Right. And then I kind of told myself, I compare it to my cat. I'm like, I'm not an inside cat. I'm an outside cat. So I have to do something. I have to be moving.
Dude, I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way. Oh.
Yeah, I find a lot of woodworkers are similar paths. Things are a little different, but same story.
Yeah.
So like I went to school for engineering, so it was all math and science and numbers and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, it's interesting, but I'm like, dude, I gotta get my hands on something. Like I can't just sit behind a computer all day. I'm not creating anything, right?
Right.
And that's why I had to. Oh, it's terrible. I had to start something.
And so at what point does the social media stuff come in then?
So let's see. Originally I started selling products on Facebook Marketplace, but I wouldn't really say that I was doing like social media influencing. I was just advertising my woodworking business on Facebook. And back when I started doing that, there wasn't as much competition out there, at least in my local area. Because now if you go on there and type in like woodworking or custom table or something, I don't know what you even type in anymore, but there's a lot of options for people to choose from. So I think I had a little bit of a lucky start there. And But the social media content creating came about probably 4 or 5 years into woodworking full time.
Okay.
I didn't start Instagram right away, and I started following woodworkers, and I was really nervous to post stuff. Like just everybody, I know the feeling like your first post when you don't want to post. Nobody's gonna see it, but you don't want to post it because you're scared. But yeah, I still remember that.
So did it get to the point where you were doing your custom furniture and whatnot, and then you started the social media stuff? As far as like success, like monetarily, did the social media start to like outpace the custom furniture, or kind of like how did that go? Was there one that seemed to be more of a gleam of hope of like, okay, this could turn into something big, or like maybe I should leave this one or start something else, or like how did that kind of go for you?
Yeah. So the furniture, I started with smaller projects and I worked my way up to like full entertainment centers. So at that point, I mean, I was doing for what I was doing well for what I would consider as a woodworker. I was making enough money to do everything and save some. Then the social stuff started. In 2019, I got on TikTok, right? Like when it first got into the big in the US.
Land grab.
Yeah, and it was lucky. Like I got in because who was it? Ginger Woodworks. You guys know Rob over at
yeah, totally, Rob Ryan.
Yeah, he posted a story saying start a TikTok and tag me and I'll share it on my Instagram. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll get my name out there to more people, and that's what I did. And the first TikTok I did got like 30,000 views in the first week, and I had no idea what that was. So. But yeah, so in 2019, I started TikTok and it just skyrocketed after that over the past few years. Now I'm at just over 600,000 followers on TikTok.
Wow. Amazing.
Wow. Nice. Wow.
So that's where like the monetary started catching up to the actual furniture is when TikTok started growing.
Yeah.
I think you might be our first TikTok success story we've had on here.
Oh,
I know.
Really?
Most woodworkers don't have success over there.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people like at Workbench Con, and they asked me questions, and I'm honest with them. I'm like, I don't know. I think I got lucky. I was early.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we talk about is the land grab. Like Zach's got this opportunity with the what's it called, Zach? Microsoft something?
Start.
Oh, Microsoft Start. Yeah.
So Zach's got this opportunity for this new video platform that Microsoft is rolling out.
Really?
And so he's trying to become basically an early adopter. It's like an invite only thing right now. But I mean, that's exactly basically how you got so successful in TikTok is getting on early in the land grab. So that's what Zach's trying to do with the Microsoft.
And
Start.
I think I was saying in the last episode, I feel like a mistake I made was writing off TikTok early. I was like, it's just a flash in the pan. It's never going to last. It's BS. And now I regret that because it's huge.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't know because there's so many different platforms that come out. Like,
it's true.
So many different ones.
Vero.
Vero. Yeah. But if you have the capacity or you have a way to like at least attempt, like as a content creator, you almost kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
Because it could be.
I would agree.
It could become a pillar of your business relatively quickly. So
sure.
Yeah.
Are you getting now to the point with Boss Dog Glue that you're like, at what point do I dial back the social media and go just absolute bananas on the glues? Like I'm sure you're struggling with that just as much as I'm struggling with when do I leave my day job?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, that would be a hard one for me, to be honest. Like, because I really do enjoy the content creating side of things because I get to interact with a ton of people that are very similar to me and have the same interests. So, I don't know. I think it'll happen at some point. Maybe I'll just continue my content creating for Boss Dog. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jonathan. He's still doing content creation.
Yeah, something like that. There you go. There's a perfect example. I'll try to like follow that kind of route.
Yeah.
It's smart though what you've built though. This is something that the three of us have discussed that like okay, let's be real for a minute. Us creating YouTube videos about us building stuff, awesome. We all know eventually you just garner less interest from people unless you have some sort of product or longevity or a way to just really keep things going. Like eventually
Yeah.
it's going to kind of fade. But you were smart by creating this product, right? So you can continually sell this product, innovate on this product, and once you get big enough and if it's something you want to do, you can then hire a marketing company, you can hire fulfillment employees to the point where you can actually just let this thing run itself. Whereas we can't have somebody just run our YouTube channel because we haven't built it up as a brand, a company. We've built it up as a
solo endeavor.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's scary.
It is, but I don't think you. I mean, you could still go that way with your channels and stuff with your YouTube.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, I think that I think I do see Boss Dog growing pretty big. At least I have goals to. So I mean, we've only been 11 months now, so we're still really new. But I do see some good growth in the next few years. So I don't know what that'll entail for my social stuff, but I'll still be posting videos no matter what.
Right.
Yeah, but maybe hiring, obviously, warehouse stuff like that, and people that are smarter than me that can run the books and stuff.
Right. So that's a common question that we get from people. Do you still run your own books, or did you hire a CPA?
So my wife does a lot of the back end stuff for my business, for all of my stuff, because honestly, she's way more organized than I am, and she keeps on all that stuff for me. But we do have a CPA that helps make sure everything's in check. Yeah.
It's one of those things we tell people. It's like once it gets to the point where it's annoying for you to do it, it's so worth the money to have somebody do that, because then you know that it's being done right. And it's
for sure.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to pay that money for somebody to do something that I feel like I could do. But it's like they're so much more efficient at it. Like at some point you got to hand it off.
Yeah, for sure. And I do, and I know you guys probably do too, because you guys run your own channels. Letting other people do your work, even if you can, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Because in my furniture business, I did have employees as well, but I caught myself a lot overshadowing, making sure they're doing the right thing without letting them kind of go off on their own. It's hard to let go of things, especially when they're personal like that.
It's like having kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to imagine with the employee thing, especially for furniture, right? Like you're seeing somebody go glue something up and they're just, they're gluing up a panel, right? And they just crank the daylights out of the clamps, and you're like, "Oh my God, you're bowing that panel! Right. Please don't do that."
And then you don't want to approach them the wrong way and be confrontational. So you're like, "Hey,
but maybe they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I know. I put a boatload of clamping pressure on it, then I back it off." And it's like, okay, maybe it's just a different technique or something like that, but. That would be so hard for me, especially if it's going out to clients and it's like, that's your name on it, that, somebody's doing something. They might not know that it's royally messing up the entire furniture building and to set you back. It's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, and then training, sticking with them until they actually know exactly what you need them to do or what's right, especially. Yeah. One of the guys I had worked for me for about 2 years, and he already had a background in construction, so he was familiar with tools and how to use things. So that really did help. Somebody that actually had a little bit of experience in that field.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So as someone compared to the three of us have had exponentially more success selling furniture and doing client work and stuff like that, how do you recommend, because we get this question a lot, people like, how do I get started? And we have some ideas, but none of us have been super successful with it. So What's your like go-to, like if you had to make like a playbook, like, okay, I've just started a woodworking company, a woodworking business. What would you do, or what did you do to really kind of get out there so people wanted to buy things from you?
It's kind of hard for me to answer because I don't like see myself as that. I think because the route that I took was the normal route that everybody takes. I posted on Facebook Marketplace. I grew a local following, and then I kind of catered. This is what I would suggest: find a product that isn't heavily supplied, but there is a demand for. So for me in the area, it was built-in entertainment centers in living rooms and stuff that there wasn't a lot of people that took on those jobs. There was a couple big cabinet shops that are local, but those jobs were like a little too small for them to take on. So I was at a spot where the guy in his normal little garage that works just on Sundays probably wouldn't take that job on, but the big guy wouldn't either. So I kind of found an alley where there was a little more demand for something. But that could change too with the styles that are in for that year or whatever. So,
right.
Yeah.
We all remember the pallet furniture days.
Actually, that's how that was my first stuff on Marketplace was pallet furniture.
Really?
Yeah. It's as embarrassing as it sounds.
Hey, we all went through it.
Dude, yeah, that stuff was big back in the day. So you'd be foolish not to.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago or so that I was doing that. So.
Yeah.
That's why I was unsuccessful at it, because I started my pallet furniture thing in like late 2019. So that ship had already failed. But I found Facebook challenging because it seemed similar to Etsy sometimes. A lot of it seems to be a race to the bottom, right? What's the minimum amount I can possibly charge for this? And then somebody wants to undercut me even more, right?
Yeah. I think that also, and see if you're on Etsy, then you're not usually local to a specific area. So me on Marketplace was local. So I was building a reputation via word of mouth as well. So that kind of helped build the trust to maybe spend a little more than this guy was charging.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I think that's good advice in any business. Like that race to the bottom that you're talking about, Eric, is like, it's almost like kind of a fool's game.
Yeah, for sure.
At the end of the day, you're just trying to do more work for less money.
Right.
So if you can't find a way to differentiate yourself from your competitors so that you can charge more, you're kind of just spinning your wheels at the end of the day.
I do think in the beginning it's okay to be a little lower on the pricing chart than competitors, just to get some experience and build your portfolio.
Get your name out there.
Yeah, for
sure. That's a good point.
But not so far down where it's like, I don't know about that. That seems a little.
And you should be always aiming to go upstream. I think you know what I mean, or like upmarket kind of.
Yeah.
One of the things that we always tell people, and I never did it, but I've heard a lot of people had success with it. Did you ever do the thing where like you try to find a local interior designer and like gang up with them to basically have them be your client effectively? Did you ever do that?
I didn't seek them out, but I did have two that would recommend me, and I'd actually meet them at jobs and discuss builds. It wasn't a lot. It was probably a few times a year. And but yeah, it wasn't something that I sought out, but I do hear people that do that and appear to have success doing it.
Now, for the sake of conversation, did you ever have any absolute like horror stories with client builds or client installs? No names, obviously.
Yeah. 10 years doing those jobs. There was a few. I'm trying to think of like specific.
Yeah, the worst one, worst offender.
So I did the entertainment centers, and I had always had to have a helper with me that would help me lift things. And I was up on the top of the ladder, and it was summertime, and I live in Florida, and the lady, they're older couple, and the wife and husband were walking around, and she looked up at me on the ladder and asked us if we wanted to go swimming in the pool right there in the middle of the job. And I was just, like, it threw me off. So yeah, like, do you guys just want to go swimming now?
You're like, yes, I do. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
You hired me to come do a job.
So that one, I wouldn't quite call it a horror story. It just was an interesting encounter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
What else? I'm trying to think of like an actual a horror story style.
Well, why don't we head on over to the after show and you can.
All right, yeah,
more
we already
over
been.
there.
Oh my gosh, time flies
Yeah.
when you let
Yeah.
me open my mouth.
Rushed an hour.
I know
Before
this
we
was-
let you go, though, I got one more question for the main show,
Okay.
and that is anybody that gets your Boss Dog glue, what do you recommend that maybe they use their old glue on to get rid of it?
hair gel.
You no,
Yeah.
honestly, I would say if you spent money on it, use it.
No,
And
there
then-
you go.
All right. That's a generous answer.
That is
Yeah,
that's a
I'm
good
not going to
answer.
tell you to throw it away,
Yeah.
but you can if you want. That's totally up to you.
I actually have. Permit me to run the show a little bit long, but I actually kind of have a
Permit
follow-up
granted.
question to what we were just discussing.
Yeah.
Do you have any similar to somebody starting like a building company or a custom cabinetry company? Do you have any advice for anybody who's potentially thinking about putting out their own product? Like, how did you pick glue? Out of all the things related to woodworking that you possibly could have, was there some analysis that went into that where you're like, this is an underserved market, or I feel like I could have an edge here?
I think I kind of knew over the years that I wanted to like have some type of product, and I would brainstorm ideas in the shop and try to think of stuff, but nothing really like kind of stood out until the glue thing came to my mind, and it was a product that I knew that people, if they gained a liking to it, they would repeatedly come back and keep using it over and over. It's not a table saw that you have for 10 years. It's something that you have to keep replenishing. And that was one of the big things for me with that aspect, the business side of it.
Yeah, that's smart. That's just something I don't know that I ever would have necessarily considered it. So that's great advice.
Yeah.
Not necessarily planned obsolescence, but planned replenishment, right? It's a consumable. The product itself
there you go.
gets consumed.
Right.
And it's supposed
at a pretty fast rate too, typically.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know about whenever I have a good idea, the way I know that I've had a good idea is I can kind of see the thing as a whole. So whenever you saw the glue, did you also see like, oh, here's the name for it, and like here's what the kind of what I want to make the logo look like and where I want to go with it and everything. Do you have a vision?
Not originally, but that part took a few weeks for me to kind of get to where I wanted as far as logo design. I mean, I do have a story for that too, but I don't know if we're going to run over too bad or too far on your time.
No, we can bring it after show.
So the dog actually is my dog. My dog's name was Boss. So that is him, and that originally I had different drawings and stuff that I did. Even with AI, I was like, draw me a picture of a dog and give me a name for. Yeah. And it was like Good Dog Glue Company, Bad. It was just random names, and then all of a sudden I was laying in bed and I was like, Boss Dog, my dog Boss. Like that was like one of the strongest bonds that I had for a long time. So I was like, that relates to glue. So
you want a strong bond?
Strongest bond?
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, that took me a minute.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good.
And it says Wood's best friend. So
yeah,
right.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
That's sweet. Well, Nick, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We've got some questions for you over in the after show and some questions, some of our favorite questions that we always like to ask guests over in the after show. So everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out this week. And Nick, before we go, tell the people where they can find you. Feel free. No shame. Plug away yourself.
Plug it all. Give it. Yeah, every single property.
So my woodworking pages are Nick's Custom Woodworks. So on Instagram, it's just at Nick's Custom Woodworks. The same with TikTok, YouTube, and then we've also got our Boss Dog page. So it's Boss Dog Wood Glue on Instagram and TikTok. We don't have a YouTube yet, but we do have a Facebook. And then you can go directly to our website at bossdogglue.com.
Right on. So,
Awesome,
tiny peek behind the curtain. When somebody wants to go buy your product, what's the best place for them to buy it so that you get the most bang for your buck? Probably directly from your website, I would assume.
So we're on Amazon too, and surprisingly, with shipping rates, it's very similar. So if somebody prefers Amazon, I'm totally okay with that. But other than that, yeah, direct would be a great way.
Right
Direct
on.
from the
And you guys
website.
have pretty quick turnaround. I've ordered it through you directly, and it's gotten to me pretty fast.
I try to ship out within 2 days of getting the order in. So sometimes it's a little longer, but I try to get it out within 2 days.
I always like to ask that question because I know some people with different platforms and stuff that they're on, they're like, oh, if you're going to order it, please order it from this one because I get hammered with fees on this other
100%.
platform.
And then you're part of Prime too. So if you're
Yep.
an Amazon Prime member, you can get the free delivery and everything off there.
Yes, and it's fast shipping. And right now we have our Black Friday sale going on Amazon and on our website, 20% off. I don't know if this will
KM Tools,
air
too.
by then. So the KM Tools has their Black Friday. So right now is the time to do it. But honestly,
Right.
I don't care where people buy it as long as they're using it. The more the merrier for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And get rid of your other glue.
You
Go
said
with
that,
Boss.
not me.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Listeners,
man.
thank you so much. Another episode. We appreciate it. Patrons, we're going to head over to the after show. And everybody else, if you want to join that, just go to patreon.com/offthecut podcast. But if not, we'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
See you all around.